little bit about the Evandro's Case podcast. Just to talk a little bit about the podcast is not the Evandro Case podcast. The podcast is called Human Project, and the Evandro's Case is the third season of this podcast. Okay, and this podcast is presented by Evandro Mizanzuki. He's a Brazilian journalist, and in the third season, he decided to present this Evandro's Case. It was a very famous case in Brazil in 1992. What happened in this year? In this year, a lot of children disappear in Paraná, start to disappear. And the Evandro's case is the most famous one because he disappeared, and it was a kidnapping. Okay, he was kidnapping. He was a 7-year-old boy, and he kidnapped in a small city in Brazil called Guaratuba. So it was very strange because this city is pretty small, like it's smaller than Braga, and children started to kidnapping there, disappear, and never appear again. But the Evandro's case is the most famous one because his body appeared 2 kilometers far away from his house. Dead. But he have some peculiarities in this body. I don't say his body because I don't have sure that it was his body because the hands were cut off. Without this body was found without hands and with this part open without any organs there.
Witchcraft.
And the hair was shaved, and the eyes
were taken off.
Taken off. And the people just what happened here? 4 days before he was kidnapped, the body appears 2 kilometers away from his house. What happened here? And this podcast is in a storytelling format. So sometimes it's pretty scary because we have a narration with a sonoplasty to try to understand the case and the mood at this time to try to understand what happened there. And this case was why this case was so famous? Because this boy appears, the civil policy in Brazil start to investigate. The best group civil policy in Brazil was investigated. This case it was called Tigre Group. It's like a Brazilian SWAT, and they investigated for 3 months, and they didn't had any results in 3 months. But in 2 weeks, the military policy went into there and described 7 people that committed this crime, and this persons confirmed this and confessed this. They kidnapped the kid, murdered the kid, and after this they made a ritual with this body to want more power in politics and in more money, because this in the middle of these 7 persons, two of them it was the wife of the mayor,
The mayor?
the mayor of the city, and the daughter of the mayor.
My.
That's the why this case gained a lot of famous in Brazil. It was called the witch of Guaratuba. The Evandro case, it was called in the at this time like the witches of Guaratuba.
My.
And the case was these persons were arrested. They were judged, and but the judgment just finished in 2017. That's the why this journalist start this podcast after this, because he didn't want to
Expose?
is not exposed. He didn't want to change or interfere in the judgment. But
2015?
2017.
1992 to
But there was three judgments for in the at this time from 1992 to 2017.
Unbelievable.
Yeah, but after this, all of them were
Convicted?
no. The seven for the seven, just two were free, and these five were condemned. But in this podcast, if you start to listen, you will be in doubt with everything.
Really?
Yes, because this journalist read all the papers from the judgment and start to investigate and show some things that we the people just don't show in the judgment, and it's pretty. I like to heard this podcast because I always like to read about Sherlock Holmes, like Arsène Lupin or Agatha Christie, and in this case, it's like you receive the information and try to discover what happens here. I will not give you more information because otherwise I will spoil you.
Yeah, I want to know about it.
Yeah.
Have you heard about a former Satanist called Daniel Mastral?
Yeah.
Yeah, because he says a lot about the disappearance of children. And he was once, before his conversion, he was once presented to a girl that he was the first girl he would have to kill in a satanic worship.
Yeah.
But then he accepted Christ, and years later he saw in a magazine a woman. He said, looks like that girl, and checked the name, was the name of the girl, the date was correct, so somehow God just, freed her. And he says that he was dating a girl who was a Christian, and he was in the toppest of the Satanism, because it says like witchcraft is the lowest, then they just gather people, and then it comes the I forgot the name. It's not that I forgot the name of the two sets. The first one is the Freemasons, is right here. Below is the Rosa something. I don't remember the name. And here Illuminati, and up here is the Brotherhood. The Brotherhood, it's secret, and you are chosen. You cannot go into. And how you're chosen? They just look for the stars and dates and says, okay, this person. That they start looking for hospitals when a baby was born in that exactly place and time, and he was one of them. And he says that Satan has 9 apostles instead of 12 from Jesus. And he chose 9 because he's not omniscient. He doesn't know everything. So he never knows if one person is going to accept Christ or die, something like this. So one of them will be the Antichrist. So he accepted Christ. He was threatened. He says a lot about this, disappearance of children is always involved in something like this. He accepted Christ because of this girl. And one day, very reluctant, his girlfriend made an appointment with the pastor. He says, okay, I'm going to talk to this pastor. And he was a master, kung fu master. He said, I was strong, I was young, but when I saw that man coming, I was shaking so much, shaking, everything inside me said, go away, go away, go away. And then when he came, said, look, I don't want to talk anymore, I have to go. I said, no, just 5 minutes, come here. He went up to his office, the pastor's office, and when the guy entered there, the pastor locked the door. He said that he was so afraid. He said, that man couldn't do anything to me. I was a kung fu master. I could have killed him instantly. But I was so afraid that I said, I don't want to talk to you anymore. I just want to go away. And the pastor said, yeah, okay, I don't want to talk to you anymore. I just want to pray for you. And he said that he just remembered his hand coming towards him. And it was as if it was in Igreja Batista do Morumbi in São Paulo. The pastor's hand grew up and then he collapsed. He said that he just remembered some flashes and he was shouting and moving and flashes when he was freed from the demons, legions of demons. All the pastor's office was destroyed. Everything, table, chairs, shelves, everything. And he said, as a former Satanist, I can say that pastor was a man of God, because looking at him, I was afraid. And he says, if before the meeting, he made many witchcrafts against a pastor. He wanted to kill him all the time, and he couldn't. Nothing worked. The last one, he said, it's impossible. He called the biggest priestess, and they offered to kill the pastor. 13 children. 13. If the pastor died, they would kill 13 children. They made the witchcraft, and there was a car crash, a terrible car crash. He said, I got it. But then the secretary of the pastor called, oh yeah, but he's okay, nothing happened. The car is destroyed, but he's okay. Said, who is this man? Then nothing happens. I got the highest priestess of from the Satanism, and nothing happened. And this is how he came back. He speaks some things, for example, about the pandemic. He has Satanism has a timeline, but they know that this timeline may not happen because it all depends on God's permission. And he says about